New York City Mayor Eric Adams is doubling down on NYPD officers on the subway after yesterday's mass shooting. Well, he said he was going to do something, and then we didn't really see what that was ever going to be. Well, this is happening as the city deals with a surge of crime in its public transit system already. The NYPD says overall, transit crime is up by 68.1% year to date compared with last year. Felony assaults and arrests up in 2021 versus 2020. New lawmakers are accusing Mayor Adams of allowing lawlessness. The Wall Street Journal with this headline: the Brooklyn subway attack challenges Mayor Eric Adams' safety push. And a New York Post op-ed says after the latest bloodbath, time is running out for Hochul, meaning New York Governor Hochul, and Adams to save NYC. Here's Mayor Adams live on Fox News earlier, highlighting the importance of keeping dangerous criminals off the streets.
If we don't dam all the rivers that are causing this flow of violence in all the big cities across America, we have a real crisis on our hands. We need to make sure the laws are clearly stating that dangerous people won't be part of a revolving door justice systems. Number two, we need to uncrowd our courts. It's imperative that every arm of our criminal justice system is operating at its optimum.
Well, he's running now, because I don't know what he was doing before, walking backwards. Jason Rantz is a KTTH Seattle radio talk show host. And Jason, listening to the mayor there, it sounds like a completely different person who told everybody that crime in the subway was our perspective. It was not really happening.
Yeah, I remember that. But I also remember him walking that back and saying he was going to do something about it, and then very clearly didn't do something about it. Yeah, there was nothing actually done. And then to make matters worse, you find out that surveillance cameras aren't hooked up properly. I mean, this is obviously showing and really highlighting how bad the problem has become. And sometimes for some folks, they need a big event like this to change their minds and to realize how bad it is. It's one of the tragedies of having to wait to get someone to actually do something. But again, kudos to the mayor for speaking. You're going to have to do a little bit more than that. You can't just go on TV and just sort of talk about it in a nebulous way. We need to keep more bad guys in jail. Okay, well, what exactly is the plan? Because it's not Mayor Eric Adams who's putting people in or out of jail. It is prosecutors. It is judges who go easy. There is something more sort of nefarious going on in trying to dismantle the criminal justice system. That's what the activists have been doing the last several years. And now we're seeing the results.
Well, activism, versus actually leaving your city lawless. I mean, one can lead to the other, but it didn't have to be this way. He was a cop for 22 years. That's how he ran and got the job that he has now. There were Republicans in the primary, Jason, who put down a different party affiliation so they could vote in the primary for the Democrat that they thought would do the most to help tackle the crime.
Yeah, and look, he comes out with this plan or idea to prioritize police presence on subways, which should have already been happening given all the stats. However, again, keep in mind, those officers are coming from somewhere else, which then makes those other places that they're no longer proactively policing vulnerable. Because remember, they lost so many officers within the NYPD. They went through the staffing exodus the same way so many other cities that are dealing with this crime experienced. And what that led to, or at least what that helped to create, in part because of those policies that emboldened the criminals, it created this culture of lawlessness. Right. And we are now seeing it come into fruition. And I fear that folks will use this one incident as a means to get away from the conversations you and I have been having for months. Because, look, this is an anomaly. This is
we can't allow that.
But this doesn't happen all the time.
No, I mean,
mass shootings.
We are journalists. We are doing a job. You're on radio in Seattle. We're doing a job. We can't let them co-opt the conversation with a bunch of stuff that really won't help, except for themselves. I mean, politically, it sounds great to say some of the stuff that Governor Hochul said yesterday in a political pitch. The woman was screaming. It was actually odd. Had nothing to do with keeping us safe. It was very bizarre. All right, let's get to this. More wacky and woke sex education teaching for young kids, like age 6. And parents are ramping up the fight for their rights. Oh, they're ready. Washington and Oregon are teaching children as young as 5 about gender-related topics, saying, quote, there are many ways to express gender, end quote. Washington education officials define gender as a social construct based on emotional behavior and cultural characteristics attached to a person's assigned biological sex. And the debate rages in New Jersey, where this fall public schools will begin teaching children as young as 2nd grade about gender identity. Some of the lesson plans have to do with girl and boy parts, and just feel your way through it, not necessarily what you can see. I won't go any further. Governor Murphy defended the guidelines in New Jersey, saying he's willing to entertain input from parents. Congressman Jeff Van Drew, not happy about it.
I don't know what we're doing to America in so many different ways. We're actually going to take little boys and girls that we send to school and start teaching them about gender ID and gender change and other things that just are not appropriate at that age. It's absurd and it's painful.
Look, just a reminder, everybody, he used to be a Democrat. He switched parties not long ago to become a Republican, and this is one of the issues that got him to do that. Jason.
Yeah, we're going to see that playing out with voters, I think, in the midterms. Look, when you look at some of the curriculum that's out there, the lesson plans, they're promoted as this way to push against intolerance and sexism, which is obviously good. But it's not really about that. It's about redefining gender. And the intent is to change these societal views in the long term. And so you've got these educators who want to pat themselves on the backs as heroes because they're standing up for what they view to be oppressed kids, because victim culture, I think, is very, very powerful, but so is the hero complex that a lot of these educators are suffering from. There are some teachers out there who are just flat out extremists on gender. They want to dismantle the systems that differentiate between male and female. But there are some other teachers that I think they're helping, but they're not. They're confusing kids, and they're putting ideas in heads.
Before I let you go, you and I were on the radio yesterday, and you shared your personal LGBT journey and how one side is really not looked at and listened to, and that is the greatest stakeholders in this, the people that they're all trying to help.
Absolutely. I think we have two groups of teachers out there, some who are members of the LGBT community who are doing this because they want to feel themselves less stigma by society, and so they're trying to change society in that way. And I don't think that it's the right move to make. But then there's other folks like me, who happens to be gay, who does not believe that we should be putting this in front of 5-year-olds, because let's be clear, 5-year-olds have no idea. 7-year-olds have no idea. You generally don't understand your own feelings. You can't comprehend your own feelings until you're a little bit closer to puberty. Now, is that the same for every single person? No, but in general it is. And so rather than confuse us at a time where it might already be kind of confusing, what you end up doing is pushing us in a direction that a lot of kids are not ready to go into. The best people to handle all of this are the families. And in the vast majority of cases, families are loving and they are better capable than an uneducated teacher in this space to try to put ideas into people's heads and to push them in a certain direction.
Well, we didn't even get to the politicians. They're not ready either.
Yeah.
So Governor Murphy can say he wants to hear from people, but will he listen? Those are two different concepts. Great to have you in focus. Jason, thank you. Illegal immigrants.